Hey, good afternoon. We're here at the Mid Atlantic Major right outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm Ryan Graham, the coach of Austin Notorious, and here with me is Mike Bianca,
coach of the New Orleans Hurricanes.
Hey, Mike. So we wanted to give you guys a little content, a little information really quick. So first thing we're going to talk about is kind of breaking news here at the MAM. We'll start off with next year.
We're going to Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas, baby.
We're going to Vegas.
Right.
That's an incredible story. Every team I've ever talked to, my team included, when are we going back to Vegas? Looks like it's happening next year, first thing.
Yeah, I love Vegas, right? Especially playing paintball there. The weather's always pretty dry, right? We have a beautiful facility we get to play out there. That park is always really pristine. I'm always concerned about going to Vegas, right, as a coach. You know what I mean?
I do. I understand, okay. Hurting those cats.
Right.
Especially those gambling cats.
Right, yeah. So Vegas is a fantastic opportunity for us to get back out toward the West Coast a little bit, and hopefully we can bring in some of those groups.
Excellent point, that West Coast paintball, out there. The other advantage to it, in fact, is it's a very affordable venue. Right. I'm never surprised at how affordable it is to get out there, to stay there. The logistics of the event are just incredible.
Yeah, like I said, the only thing I get concerned about as a coach is trying to make sure everybody's in bed by on time. So, yeah, I love that we're going back to Vegas. Great job, NXL. So, really quick, too, about Vegas, and thinking about the West Coast, the WCPPL and Mike Hinman's league. And Mike's been making splashes over the last week, starting with purchasing the USXBL down in Texas. And then, right on the heels of that, he is now, it looks like, the coach
for AC
Diesel.
That's right? Absolutely right. Matter of fact, I had the privilege to scrimmage AC Diesel this past weekend. Mike has already come in there, taking it. You'd think he'd been there the whole time. He'd taken the reins. It was it was just incredible to watch that dynamic between him and the players and the team. And I think he's really got, he's that experienced veteran who knows how to wrangle that talent. And yeah, I think we're going to see a different Diesel at this event.
I could not agree more. Yeah, when Mark put that whole thing together, and I'm a big fan of Mark and what he's trying to do, and I knew that at some point it's going to come together, right? When you have that much talent, it's going to happen. So I could not think of a better person, to be honest, to kind of take on the reins of that leadership role with that team. He's already coached a few of those guys in the past, so he's got a little history there. But then also, everybody respects Mike, right?
There it is.
He doesn't have to come in and try to win the locker room. He's already got it.
That's right. He already owns it.
Yeah, just by being him and doing some of the things that he's done in the past. And, kind of contrary to what he's done in the past, he's been, he's built teams, right? So he's brought on kind of younger, I don't want to say no name, but smaller name talent, and really built pretty successful programs with Aftermath over the years. And now to have the kind of weapons he has, I just can't imagine. It's like being a kid in a candy store, right?
Right.
Looking at all the weapons he'll have to work with now. It's pretty exciting.
No, it was incredible to watch that dynamic. And you're absolutely right. He's already he built the locker room.
Sure.
And he goes in there. The respect is the key. I think you and I have always talked about culture. Now, culture is the foundation for a successful program. Mike Hinman brings all of that. He brings all those aspects and variables to it, and I think we're going to see a very, very interesting Diesel this event.
Yeah, I agree.
So, good segue at that point, I guess. Let's talk about something you've doing recently.
Okay.
You actually brought in some talent for this event.
We did, yeah. So we played the Russians, practiced the Russians before the last event. Harris had kind of mentioned that, he wasn't getting a lot of play time with that group. Shared that he was kind of frustrated, which I'm never, as a coach, going to talk to a player who's on a team, period. And I just kind of told him, hey, just keep grinding and you'll get your opportunities, trying to motivate him a little bit. And he and I have always had really good banter back and forth, usually not in a necessarily friendly way, but friendly joking. But,
sure.
The people up here in the Northeast have a tendency to be friendly different.
Right.
Right, okay.
Right.
But nonetheless, yeah, he reached out to us kind of right after the last event in Texas. Mark and I, Mark Franz, the team owner, and I kind of talked about, sort of what he could bring to the table and if he could be the kind of player we wanted him to be. He's an incredibly talented guy. It's trying to get that energy that he has and focus it in a really positive way.
There it is.
Right? Not doing the hopper dumps on your head and kind of focusing that energy at the other team, but bringing that energy back into our pit and lifting us up, right? So he and I had several conversations after we kind of made the deal happen, sort of about what my expectations were. And we had our first opportunity with him this weekend, practicing his former team, NYX, and the Brooklyn Bears. And I'll tell you, he's been fantastic, right? Great teammate, model citizen. I'm really excited to see what kind of things we can accomplish with him sort of driving the bus.
It's fascinating that you talk about taking that energy of his, and my team and I have talked about how positive Harris could be, right? If he could use his forces of for good, instead, his powers for the instead of evil. But I think you're making a great move there. I think it does give you that cheerleader. It gives you that experience. The guy who's been there, who's been deep. So I think it's a great maneuver.
Yeah, the proof will be in the pudding, right?
It will.
100%. It's kind of an experiment until it's not. So, yeah, some other pickups. Trent Nitta.
Ah, yes, right? went to Energy. Didn't
Energy, was released from the Ironman, moved over to Energy, and Trent is a Texas kid. Known him a long time. Really excited to see him kind of land with a group that has great culture already. Al does a fantastic job leading that group, so it's exciting to see him get to land somewhere where maybe his skills will be utilized in a little more comfortable way for him.
Right. I see. Right. Energy, they started the season off pretty well, I think, with a top 10 finish.
Yep.
They moved backwards a little bit at this last event, but I think 2 of those matches they only lost by 1. So they were nail biters. The question will be, will he move the needle? Right?
Sure.
Will he move the needle for Energy? And this would be a great layout to see.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that's going to be based on comfort.
100%.
Right? How quickly can he become comfortable in their system? And we also don't know, I don't for sure, whether or not he'll be more of a job guy or are they going to let him go play. Right? And I believe if you let that kid go play, he's going to win some points for you.
It sounds almost spot on from the analysis. I will say this. Let's talk about some negative things here. And I hate to get into this, but I understand that Dalton Vanderbilt is injured and had surgery on his arm.
I don't know if he's had surgery yet. Did you hear that?
I heard that.
Okay, well
but we don't pitch rumors around it.
I did see him walking around with a bionic arm earlier.
So maybe there's something to the
I saw Impact out doing drills on one of the practice fields, and he was standing on the sidelines kind of coaching guys up. But he's definitely wearing, kind of a sleeve from his wrist all the way up to his shoulder, and it's metal all the way down on the outside. So it's a shame to see him have an issue mid-season. I mean, obviously Dalton is arguably the best Dorito player in the world, right?
But he's on Impact, and you can't throw a stone and not hit an elite player on that roster. So I don't think they're going to be hurt too bad. Matter of fact, you've got Brandon Cornell over there.
Sure.
Great Dorito player. They could probably even move Justin over there. Yeah. And probably see some effectiveness there. So I don't think it's going to hurt him too much. But anytime you lose one of those key starters, it's a little bit of a blow.
Yeah, when you're in Impact and your barn is just full of thoroughbreds, it's it's a loss, right? If that was me, if that's my group, we might not even come.
Well, in other news, though, a big surprise here. I understand that Houston Heat has the indomitable Mishka back.
That's so good, and that's fantastic news for paintball. I mean, Houston Heat, number one, is a fantastic. I think they're sitting number 2 right now.
They are
just an amazing group. You add a guy like that back to the roster, they're now just that much more dangerous, right? They may be the team that can possibly bring down Dynasty.
Could it be the missing link that Heat has needed to take down the Dynasty?
It could be, right? Yeah. I've watched Mishka play for years, and he's just incredibly talented. I know that Houston Heat is an incredibly tight group also. You don't see a lot of movement in and out of their team, and so to have kind of that missing piece and then now be able to add it back, I'm sure they feel whole, right?
Right.
Talking about personality of groups, kind of like we did with Hinman, when you take a piece out of that, right, it's almost like a deficiency in your personality of your group and your culture. Mm-hmm. You add it back, you can almost pick up right where you left off.
Excellent analysis. So let's talk about this layout a little bit, Ryan. I mean, the first 2 fields that we had were a little bit slower, right? You could lock that field down, you could process things and move forward and make counters, right? This field seems to be a lot more dynamic. There seems to be a lot more going on here. We have a no corner in the Dorito, but you have what could be a fast Dorito.
Sure.
You finally have a snake corner. Of course, they give you a cake.
Right.
So it's for, the little people.
They're the smallest bunker in the kit.
That's right.
Thanks, Jason.
That's right. But I think you see big reward from the 50 snake. And, of course, that center can be quite dynamic as well.
Sure, yeah. So I've mentioned this several times. People were asking me about the field. It's nice to have a more traditional looking field, right? Of course, the big box on the snake side kind of throws a wrench into things a little bit. I don't know how practice was for you guys, but for us, like on Saturday, it was pretty fast and ballistic. And then Sunday morning, everything slowed down, right? The guys now are getting so good. A 6-inch space.
Mm-hmm.
Locks everything down, right? So, having that kind of little space, there on the Dorito side, and then, kind of getting where it's really tough to get outside even the first Dorito on that side. I do think the field on Sunday will slow down tremendously, but, kind of like this with the alleyway, there's just a lot of places where things can still be locked down. Now, of course, that means one kill becomes that much more critical, especially on the Dorito side. If you kill that outside Dorito guy or you kill the guy going into the box in the center of the field, I think the guy's going to just fly down this Dorito side,
100%.
Especially around the outside. There.
100%. It's a lockdown here, but once whoever wins that first exchange is off to the races.
Sure, yeah.
So, lots of opportunities. That center, though, right? You've got to check that off every time. You're looking at it through here. Huge lanes on that cross once you find space. So once you own past that baby Dorito, etc., you just have to check off things in the center.
Yeah, and there's also 4 different guys who can shoot between the first and the second Dorito, so it's not like you're just checking off one. You got to do multiple checks. There's a lot of teamwork going to be involved. If your game plan is to push the Dorito side, you better be communicating incredibly well.
Communication is going to be key on this field, especially cross-field communication. You can get lost in this jungle gym of a Dorito side, but at the same time, a guy enters the snake. Where is he? Yeah,
so that's honestly what you're saying is the big thing I noticed is you don't know really on either side of the field. If you lose a guy, he can pop out of multiple different places.
That's right.
Right? And again, I think communication on this field is so big. Right?
I think craftiness and aggression are going to rule the day.
Then this gives you a really nice shot in the middle of the field. That box there, the little brick there that person is standing around.
Mm-hmm.
That thing has lots of options, either direction, and it can flow up the middle of the field. Good Lord. Yeah, that snake is incredibly treacherous.
Treacherous is a good trench.
Yeah.
Is a good word for it. It is. You'll be in the trenches there for sure, and it will be fixed bayonets.
Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't really seen it much from this angle.
That is a fascinating angle. And, of course, we've got our spot insurance bunker out there.
Yeah, critical spot on the field, especially in the first, 15, 30 seconds, being able to launch your guy, help your guy launch up, whether, that guy releases out to the corner, to the little baby, or, comes up and joins his guy once he's in the snake. I think this side of the field is going to be the moneymaker. It's been a long time since we've had a field with a snake where you really got to,
was the emphasis, right?
Feed some bodies into it. I do think that on Sunday, though, if one team doesn't go in this snake early, the other team will move it. Right?
It's not the end of the world, right? I think it's going to become that, hey, let's win that gunfight up first and then get that first body off.
Yeah.
Then we'll take it
right
and make them contend.
Yeah, and the top level teams like you guys, I think will play it like that right away. Where you're not going to have to risk a guy off the break, get 5 guys out alive, get a kill or 2, and then go win the game. Whether it's through the snake, if there's still a body on the opponent in there. Especially since we get to play each other.
Yeah, I know. I'm sitting here thinking, wow, we're going right into it. We're digging right into it. But
well,
no, you're right. But you're right, though, right? This is the field, something the Canes and, well, for that matter, Damage and some other similar teams like to slow the fields down. We like to slow the field down. I know why I like to slow the field down, specifically for my guys with a lot of our game planning, is we're not necessarily processing as fast as these 12 and 15 and 20-year veterans, right? You put a mouse out there, he's boom, he sees it, he goes.
Right.
I like to buy the time for the guys to piece it together because one thing my guys do very well is play team ball.
Well, and I figured it was because Drew Bell and Britt are so old.
I heard about it. I heard Britt told me before we did this. He said, hey, I've got Ryan warmed up for you already. I said, really? He says, well, yeah, but he started. He said I needed a walker.
He said something about him being faster than some of the other guys, and I was like, yeah, you are pretty fast with that walker. So this is critical. What they're showing now, right around that box, wrapped around the outside, and then even getting into this spot can be big.
Right. That's the setup, right? The setup is to get in there, maybe bait him, maybe go take the ground early and be there before he can bait you. So there's so many ways to play that snake with one body, two bodies, three bodies.
And what's interesting too with the way the snake is, once the guy really is past the snake too, nobody really knows where he is until he pops.
Until he pulls the trigger.
He can be on the wrap, he can be at the back of the box inside, he can be going back to the snake too, he can be on your side. You don't really know until he comes out and plays.
That's right. And there's a lot of importance and emphasis on Overwatch in this, because you have to have positioning to where once that exchange happens, whether it's a trade or not, you want to have another asset in place to where we can take that. Right?
Yeah, quickly, right?
Right.
You have to. Sure.
I do believe that on a lot of fields, you and I talk about the scramble, right? That mid-game scramble. I feel almost like the breakout is the scramble on this layout. I feel like, hey, if you don't have good guns on break, you better be taking ground.
I totally agree. And I think there's going to be a lot of, even if you don't take ground, I still think you're going to see some 3-on-3s.
100%.
All the bounce shots going into the back center, the guy easily getting shot going to the Mayan. I mean, it's just, I think we're going to see a lot of 3-on-3s, even guys trying to go short. Right?
I agree. So, I agree. I think, you've got a giant pinball machine out there.
Yep.
And you are going to end up in a lot of 3-on-3s. And that's where you and I were talking. It's going to slow down.
Yep.
That's when you're going to see those long points, when it's a 3-on-3, and neither of the three know exactly where everyone
That's exactly
is.
Right.
So then there's your 3-4 minute points, right?
4, 5, 7,
maybe 5.
8.
Actually, we had a 548 against Diesel. We had 2 548s against Diesel.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was at 3-on-3.
Right.
So,
and they want to play fast.
fast. Yeah. But no, it's been an incredible layout to study and learn, and it's going to be interesting to see how teams play.
I was watching Dynasty and Diesel practice a little bit earlier. Mm-hmm. It was fast.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was only fast for about 45 seconds.
Right.
Right. It's like they got to their spots. It was really ballistic. Made quick seconds, and then it was done. Right. Once the guys got set up, everything stopped.
That's right. It's me. I do those average points, and I do the times of the average points, so I figure out if I ever get in that situation, what amount of time am I going to need in order to score a fast point, et cetera, et cetera. And so, it wasn't much over a minute.
Yeah, I think that you're going to see, and I've mentioned this a couple of times, I think a lot of the games are going to be 5 to 7 points.
I think you are looking at 6-4, 6-5. You're looking at 10, 11 points per match. Yeah. It's going to be incredible.
Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe. Sunday, who knows?
We'll see.
Well, Ryan, let's get into some picks. Let's look at some of the brackets. Let's not look at our bracket, right? So before we get started, if you want to make your picks for bracket B, go ahead and give them in the comments here for this. Let's go ahead and see what you guys think are going to win the bracket B. You should be saying it's the Canes and Notorious.
I was going to say, are we going to make a gentleman's wager now, like on our game at least?
We should do that.
Gatorade and Snickers?
Oh, I love it.
Okay, we'll do it.
Gatorade and a Snickers. All right, let's start with bracket A. This one I think is an easy pick for most people looking. I think one of the stories of this event, Dynasty. Come on, let's talk about it. These boys they're still showing up, and they're just still performing. They're aptly named as a team.
I don't think I've been to an event in the last 2 seasons that hasn't been the story.
That's right.
Right? Like, they just continue to play at a high level. And I'll tell you, the most exciting thing about watching them play is not only what they're doing on the field is really exciting, but how much fun they're having off the field.
There it is.
To me, they're right now, their culture as a group is what paintball should look like, right? They seem like they're having a tremendous amount of fun when they're off the field, sometimes when they're on the field. But then when they get on the field, it's just methodical work. Right?
There it is. It's all business,
Yeah.
and it's very meticulous.
Yeah.
It's math. It's math to them. It's just solving a problem.
Sure.
And it's incredible to watch. Damage, of course. I think now with Keith Brown, I believe Keith Brown is healthy again. You put the Edwards brothers and Chad out there on the Doritos side. I think you're going to see some dynamic stuff out of them. I don't think you're going to see Damage sitting back trying to lock anything up on this one.
That would be interesting.
I think they're going to go.
Okay.
I think they're going to go. We'll see.
So NRG, right, just picking up Trent Nitto. We kind of talked about that. Trent could bring that fire, kind of we talked about if they let him go. I think this is a really good field for him. It's possible that, NRG puts together another performance kind of like they did at the first event.
Right.
The Bears, coming off an 0-4 in Texas, I can tell you we practiced them. They looked really good. The Dorito side was amazing for them. I don't know how they figured that out, but they did. So the Bears could also be that spoiler team.
Right.
And then LVL, seems like they're having an issue kind of connecting all the dots. Right. We sort of talked about that, though. They've kind of looked good for the first 10 or 15 seconds, and it seems like maybe not enough team ball, maybe a little too much selfishness. I don't know. I'm not their coach, right? But it'll be interesting. I think bracket A. I think you nailed it.
Yeah. It's that I feel that's easy. I did want to comment about Level. Level losing Sam at the beginning of the season to Infamous, and now of course Danny's doing a great job. And Lemon is a great player as well. Is that enough? Is that going to be enough on this type of layout, right? Where it's got to be that team hyper aggression.
When you're kind of leaving out Damian Ryan, right?
I forgot about that's right. Damian is out there. How could I do that?
Yeah, and on a field
Shame
like
on
this, Damian could be incredibly dangerous.
Damian can be. He's a crafty player, right? He's a crafty player, and this can be a very crafty field. So it will be interesting to see how they leverage him.
Sure.
So my picks for bracket A are Dynasty, Damage, in that order.
Okay. I'd love to argue with you, but
you would love to argue.
But I agree. I think those two will be the two that come out of it. So, okay, so bracket C, right? Because we're going to skip bracket B, right?
Yes, sir.
So again, we're going to leave that to you guys. Go into the comments. Tell us who you think is going to come out of bracket B. So bracket C, we have X Factor, Infamous, AC Diesel, the Russians, right, and Uprising. So it's hard to ever, for me especially, I coached X Factor back in 2007, 2008. It's hard for me always to not pick them. But I think this is a great field for them, right? I think X Factor has all the pieces to make this field. They could make it fast, right?
Right.
I think they're a team that also counterpunches really well. It'll be interesting to see kind of where they put Colt, right? If Colt's allowed to go through the middle of the field and kind of beat Colt, it could be really dangerous. So Infamous next. Infamous played amazing in Texas. I think that group that Travis put together is really starting to get it, right? Yep, they're starting to get some cohesion. And talk about culture, right? They have a fantastic team culture, and I think some of the new guys are really starting to wrap their arms around that. We haven't seen much from Ben Challenger, and I think there's a great field for Ben. Right?
Ben could get lost. That's at 100%.
So I'm really excited to see kind of what they do with Ben. AC Diesel, I mean, where do you start kind of talking about the superstars on that team? And really, in my opinion, some of the guys, the unsung heroes, right? Mark Binkowski, Nico Hyde, some of those guys that have been around for a little bit. I know Nico's fresh with the team, but Nico's been around a long time playing with Houston Heat and some other squads. The Russians, it's hard to tell who's going to show up, so we'll see. Uprising, I think, is going to have their hands full every match, right? If Uprising can show up and play well, we'll see. My pick for C is X Factor.
That's interesting.
Oh, I'm sorry. X Factor Diesel.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, then it would appear that I would love to argue with you, but it would appear that we also have picked. I also picked X Factor and Diesel. Having an opportunity to practice Diesel this weekend and see that, I do think Infamous could very well be that spoiler. Sure. But I think X Factor. This is their layout, and we're going to see some exciting things out of Diesel.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's finish up with bracket D. This one includes what? Impact, New York Extreme, Aftermath, Revo, and the Saints.
Yep.
I'll go ahead and start with my pick. I think you're going to see Impact win the bracket with NYX coming in right behind them on that.
Okay, I disagree. I think NYX is going to win the bracket, and I think Impact will be next.
Well, we had our first disagreement.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Even with the lack of Dalton, I still think Impact has the tools for this layout. But obviously, NYX has just shown an incredible growth this season. What Rich is doing with those guys, they're really coming together and really getting it. Their cross-field communication has skyrocketed, and you're starting to see that team ball.
And I do think Aftermath could play spoiler there.
100. I agree 100%.
If Aftermath plays like they did at the last event and adds another, so this field, because it's going to be a little more ballistic, if they can pick up the communication a little bit and elevate that team ball play and understand how to do the snake stuff, I think Aftermath could play really well.
Aftermath showed to be that methodical team at the last event. They understood what had to happen, and they executed it. This field has a certain element similar to that. It's just a little faster. So if Aftermath can figure that out, I think you're right. We both agree there's going to be a spoiler.
And Revo, I think is underperformed this year for the talent that's on that team and in that group. And it would be exciting to see Revo come out and play really, really well. I mean, we're kind of up in their neck of the woods, so hopefully they can show out a little bit.
Yeah, those guys aren't afraid to go, right? And
No.
Revo's not afraid to go. And matter of fact, I've told people this all the time. The deeper Revo gets in an event, the more dangerous they get. But if they can start off right,
and I think Henry's hurt. I actually just remembered that.
We didn't discuss it during the first segment, but
Yeah.
I had heard the same rumor. But we don't deal in rumors here, so we didn't want to do. But I did hear Henry's hurt, and if Henry's hurt, that's a big hit to Revo. That's a big problem. The Saints, they really haven't found their footing yet. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, it's a puncher's chance field, right?
Right.
So maybe the Saints show us something a little different than they've shown us the last 2 years.
And the exciting thing is, it doesn't matter what we say, right? So what's going to happen is we're going to play some games over the next couple of days, and we'll see what happens. If you guys think we're wrong, go into the comments, tell us your picks, let us know how stupid we are if you think we are. It's a good chance it's Mike, not me.
And
right?
we can be stupid. Wait, I said we could be stupid. You're sitting here throwing me under the bus.
If you want to see more shows like this, maybe even a live broadcast, make sure you like, share, tell your friends to watch the show. Go down, comment, let Tom know, hey, we want more of this. Mike and I have enjoyed this, and we hope to do it more.
Hopefully you enjoyed it too. My picks, Impact, MYX. His pick, MYX, Impact. So we'll see who wins the Gatorade and the Snickers.
It's going to be me.
It's gonna,